there's the nervousness to share this whole story. I had just led an initiation with one of the most revered altomisayocs in Peru. And on the very final night, I had an emotionally shocking experience. I sat for 6 hours right after the betrayal and the shock happened. I would let myself cry and cry. I had lost them. I could have thrown everything that I practice out the window and fall victim to the human drama and the human story. But I knew in my heart of hearts, you can transmute anything through. And then there's just this light. And I think, wow, this experience is exactly what I needed. A secret of the universe. I didn't know it was going to be my greatest liberation. Hello, my name is Eluña. I am an Akashic channeler and a psycho-spiritual healer and teacher. I have been guided from multiple realms, both the seen and the unseen realms, to share a story, a recent experience that I have gone through that is one of the greatest and most significant initiations I have had in my life thus far. It starts in September, when I very first began to lead a journey to Peru. I did not announce this journey. It was something that I invited people to come participate in simply because it was quite advanced. And so I just chose intuitively who could come in. I tuned in and asked and welcomed those people. And on the very final night of this journey, I was invited to participate in an initiation with an altomisayoc, that is a Quechua phrase for chosen by lightning. And so they are the most revered shamans and mystics and medicine people in Peru. And they are able to commune with various beings, various elementals, to move through the different worlds with ease, generally because they have been struck by lightning at least one time throughout their life, but usually it is multiple times. And once they are struck, they receive these new abilities to communicate with different beings, such as the mountains, hearing the words on the wind, etc. So I was invited to be initiated in one of the oldest lineages of the altomisayocs, and to be carrying her, this woman named Maria, carrying her lineage. So on the, there's the nervousness to share this whole story. So on the final day, I was invited to and told that I would be participating in this initiation, and it was going to happen the very next morning. So I had to rearrange my plans to be able to accommodate that, which of course I did very happily. And I had the initiation. It was one of the most mystical experiences of my life. And that is actually not the story that I'm here to tell, because the ceremony of the initiation was like the preliminary experience of the initiation. And I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that the day of. So I had beautiful mystical experiences all throughout the ceremony. Then following the ceremony, later that night, I had an emotionally shocking experience with some people who were with me on the journey. And there was something that I witnessed and experienced and felt energetically, because I'm extremely sensitive, of course, to everyone, that really shook me. That's the only way to say it. I was in shock because of the way that some choices were made and the way that it impacted me. And so the following day, and this is the same day that I have just undergone a massive initiation, follows with this incredible emotional shock. So, of course, I recognized this experience that I'm having right now is still part of the initiation. This emotional shock is actually a carrying over of the initiation that I just went through. So I took the night to sleep, and it was a pretty restless sleep, but I knew that I had to let myself integrate a bit and process to be able to understand how does this experience that I've just had connect to the initiation that I just underwent. So the following day, as I'm processing my emotions and moving through things, I am in communication with a couple of the people who were there during this experience that was emotionally shocking to me, who were involved in it. And my experience of being in shock and being incredibly hurt was not received well. That's really the easiest way to say it. And so I was left that day really processing on my own and considering everything I had just been through. I had just led an 11 or 12, 18-day initiation through Peru, then followed with this huge mystical initiation that I have been invited to participate in with one of the most revered altomisayocs in Peru. Followed that with this experience. So I had a lot to integrate and just think about. And so that day, following all of this, I spent really the entire day alone. And as I'm moving through these different layers, the first, of course, when I very first wake up in the very beginning of my emotional processing is grief, is sorrow. And again, because it is paired with this shock, this feeling of shock, because it was just so hurtful what happened. And so as I'm processing this grief, I get through maybe half of the day. When I am sitting finally with myself, resting with these feelings outside, next to the Apus, the mountains of Peru, I am crying, processing grief, crying. And then again, there's just this light that goes on inside of me. And I think, wow, this experience is exactly what I needed. Somehow, this is exactly what I needed. And in that moment of recognition, I just began to express my gratitude to every person who had been involved in this experience that had brought on this shock and this grief, and feeling gratitude for the ramifications, the ripple effects that I didn't even fully know yet, but I knew that I would know. And I just started to express gratitude for them. And the more that I began to express gratitude, especially for every person involved, the more I began to feel myself lifted into this state of absolute clarity. It was profound. The clarity that I felt, the lightness that all really just came over me, I began to tune into through the expression of this gratitude, what the actual ramifications, the true ripple effects of this experience was going to have on my life. And I began to tune into the feeling of liberation and wholeness. And I realized this experience was leading to my ultimate liberation and wholeness, greater than any liberation or wholeness I had yet experienced in my life from this experience. That energy just brought on a whole other level of gratitude. And I was moved to enter into a ceremony to bless each person that had been involved in this experience, because regardless, completely irrelevant as to the way that it looked on the outside, on the human level, which was a betrayal and a shock to me, I knew that it was my greatest liberation, that the choices that had been made somehow were all part of a karmic release on my behalf, for my benefit. And of course, each person involved, they have their own story and their own benefit as well, which I do not know because I haven't tuned into it. Hopefully they do. That's really their job, is to tune into it and find out what this gave to them as well. But I knew what this was for me. Even though I couldn't say specifics, I could feel the energy. There were a few little glimmers that I was given of what was to come. And that is how the first day, just following this experience, went. And then, in the preceding days, of course, as it goes, the real process of grief must be moved through. And it is a process that comes in these beautiful waves of emotion, the rise and the fall, sometimes accompanied with rage, sometimes accompanied only with despair, with helplessness. There are so many pieces that come. And so over the coming 2.5 weeks or so, following this initiation, was the continuation of my initiation to truly see, can you follow it through to the end? There is a Taoist teaching that says the first hardest step is to begin something. And then the next hardest thing after that is to see it through to its completion. How much I can relate to that. It has been, for about a year now, an ongoing mantra, if you will, for myself of, I am going to see this through to the end. It is just, it's easy for me to get started with something and usually see it through to the end. But if it's really, really hard, sometimes I'm like, nah, never mind. Somebody else come deal with it. And in this case, this was that question. Are you going to see this through to the end? So beautiful. I had that experience with myself after the first day of moving through this grief and entering into a state of absolute gratitude, clarity, knowing that it was my liberation. And can you follow that through? Or would I fall into and fall victim to and fall into temptation with the human drama and the human story of what took place? Because it would be so easy for me to say, I cannot believe he did that. I cannot believe that she thinks that's okay. What were they thinking? What? So easy. So easy to fall prey and victim to the human story, the human drama. But I knew in my heart of hearts, this is not about the human drama. Everything is love, because everything is God. And so if this is God, then that is where I am going to keep my focus and my attention on what God is giving to me in this experience, not on the human players, not on them. They were enacting God's plan on my behalf, for me, as a gift to me, to give me my ultimate liberation and wholeness. And of course, the nuances that come with all of that are many. And I had my moments throughout the last 2.5 weeks. I have had my moments of height and extreme depth. And the result of this on a level that does actually impact you in many ways is how it has affected my work, because it has brought me into a place that I've been moving toward for approximately a year now, again, of wanting to restructure the way that I work with my team who supports me in all of this. And it just brought that on immediately. There was just an immediate need to do every single thing that I have wanted to have happen. And so I have been working 13-hour days. It's been a lot. Been working 13-hour days while processing this whole experience that I went through. And so I would, wake up and do my morning practice, my meditation, move through my whole day of doing all of my work, having so many meetings, doing so many things. And then at nighttime, after my 13 hours, I would come home and I would say, okay, and now I will open up the gates for the grief and the rage that needs to come through. And so out it would come. And while it started to come out, I would again tune into God and gratitude. Again, I would tune into that. And so again, in those moments, the transmutation process would take place through gratitude. That is a secret of the universe. You can transmute anything through gratitude. Anything. It is the path of liberation, is being so grateful because you are expressing your thanks to God, trusting, having full faith that God gave you that experience for your very highest, no matter what it looks like on the outside, no matter what it looks like. I can say this with this heartfelt feeling because I have been through a lot. Not just the type of, oh, I've been through a lot. I've had some hard times with people. No, I mean that I was raised in darkness. And I say that with so much joy in my heart now for what I have been through, for all of the trauma, the abuse that I have lived to bring me to this place that I can be in gratitude and not get caught up in the drama on the human side, knowing that it is God giving me this gift. And it's not bypassing. I came home, I would say, let's go. What is here? I would let myself cry and feel exactly what I needed to feel. I would let all of it go, move through me. And then I would say, and what about the gratitude? Because I was crying just for me, not blaming anyone, not crying out of self-pity, just crying out of the fact that I had lost now friends, people that I thought really cared for me. I had lost them from this experience because it needed to happen. It just needed to be a cut rather than a slow parting. And so the abruptness is what I was crying over. And that's okay. And so I felt it and felt the gratitude. And throughout the last 2.5 weeks, knowing that I was moving through this process of entering my absolute liberation and wholeness, and how we do that is by demonstrating what we are capable of doing and how much we're willing to show up here in the physical. God looks at us and says, wow, okay, I got you the rest of the way. I got you the rest of the way, is what God says when we choose to show up. It is that beautiful fresco of God reaching out a hand and mankind is just laying back, barely reaching out a hand, and God is right there. It doesn't take that much effort. It's not that hard. It's really just about how much are you going to show up? Because however much you do, God is going to match that, is going to meet you, and then multiply it. And that is what happened to me. And I can say that what I tuned into 3 weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago now, about this being my absolute path of liberation and wholeness, I didn't know it was going to be this good. I did not know it was going to be this good. It's so much better than I even tuned into. And I'm sharing this story because we all have experiences like what I am describing. That is part of this human life. And part of moving into the divine, truly, not just playing at spirituality. I do not play at spirituality. That's not me. And so if you don't want to just play at spirituality, if you actually want to live a life aligned truly with the divine, then the moments that you are pushed the most is when it matters the most. I could have thrown everything that I practice out the window. No peace, no compassion, no faith. I could have thrown all of that away in this moment of betrayal. And instead, I said, no, gratitude. And after that, I said, absolute forgiveness. And there is only gratitude to actually have for every single person. There's nothing to even forgive. This is a blessing. Thank you. Did it take a few practices of the Ho'oponopono prayer to get my human on board and understanding and lifted to the same level of consciousness that my spirit was inviting me into, to actually feel the gratitude? Of course. But that is the practice. That's the practice. You keep showing up with sincerity, and one day it just lands. That's what happens. We will all be tested again and again and again. Because it's our soul, it's spirit asking, have you really mastered that? Have you really mastered compassion, forgiveness, gratitude, faith, trusting in the absolute, that it is perfect somehow, no matter what it looks like? And so this initiation that I had, that started with a genuine, real initiation ceremony, rippled out into multiple days of initiation that have allowed me to tune into and really know, have you mastered that yet? And come into so much clarity around what I want to master more of and what I'm ready for. And you have these experiences all the time as well. Every single day, we have this choice to praise or to complain. Every single day, we have that choice. We can always find something to complain about. We always can, always. And that means we can always also find anything to praise. And the more that we praise and tune in to the truth, the more the truth reveals its beautiful nature to us. Because the truth is, everything is God. Everything. Everything. You are not left out of that equation. No one is left out of that equation. Nothing tangible or intangible is left out of that. That is a spiritual life. Knowing that it is all God and trusting is peace. It's peace. There's never anything to feel upset by. There is only gratitude to feel. And when we have those experiences that bring on grief and bring on rage, bring on jealousy, those are the moments that we really get to tune in and reaffirm and set our intention again. Are we going to trust that this is also God working in this moment? And know that your greatest struggle is your greatest teacher. It's you, it's God. So, here I sit, approximately 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks after this initiation, feeling more and more whole each day, and with the ability to drop in with the beloved more deeply than I ever have before. And I want that for you. I want it for everyone. And you can bring yourself there through your praise, your expression of gratitude, tuning into your heart, getting all of that other egoic stuff and junk out of the way, all of the stories out of the way, to sit with the simple truth that it is all God. So the next time that you are struggling, that you are feeling bitter, resentful, frustrated, or maybe sad, hopeless, helpless, ask God, what is here for me? Why are you giving me this experience? What do I have to be grateful for in this experience? What do I have to learn from this experience? And it takes your time to contemplate. You're not going to find an answer on ChatGPT. I sat for 6 hours in that experience right after the betrayal and the shock happened, contemplating and seeking within myself what is teaching me in this experience. What is this? How is this helping me? It takes your contemplation. That takes your critical thinking, your brain power, your effort to do that. So however you reflect and contemplate best, whether that is perhaps talking to yourself aloud, using a voice memo to record yourself so that you can go back and listen to it, writing, journaling, but it's with you. It's with you and God. That's it. And I hope that you give that to yourself so that you can live knowing that you are held in the sovereign hand of the divine at all times. I would really love to hear about your own experiences. And truthfully, it's incredibly inspiring for other people to be able to read other people's experiences as well. So if you yourself have gone through a time like what I am describing, how did you move through it? And it can be from any time in your life. How have you moved through your own challenges? How do you come to a place of gratitude? I have shared mine. I always ask, what is here to teach me? That's my main thing. But how do you do it? How do you move into a place of gratitude? And how do you move into a place of forgiveness, genuine forgiveness for any person involved, so that you can actually then go back to the experience of gratitude to feel even more grateful for them? How do you do that? I would love to know, and I would really love other people in this community to know as well, because we are all guiding each other. We are all walking each other home on this beautiful path of spirit. I would love to read your experiences in the comments below. And until I see you again, may you remember your magic today.